welcome to the Metal Voice today. The one, the only lead singer of Helix, the one, the only Mr. Brian Vollmer. What's going on?
Just been giving you the runaround all day long, and you've been very nice to me and accommodating.
So, are you still teaching? I'm assuming you are, right? So
Yes.
just give a quick plug for your teaching.
I teach bel canto, which is the oldest method of singing in the world. It was started by Leonardo da Vinci, and the lineage of voice teachers that teach bel canto you can trace down through the ages over the last, 200 or 300 years. And I was taught by Edward Johnson, who also taught Beverly D'Angelo, Chevy Chase, Andy Kerner, Coney Hatch, Gilmour, Triumph, just tons of Canadian singers. And Ed taught me how to teach bel canto, and now that he's passed away, I'm one of the few people in the world that probably still teach it.
Do you take novices, intermediate, professionals? Who do you take as the clients?
Anybody, as long as they're 16 years of age and older, and not too old either.
All right, quickly tell me about the Icon series, the new greatest hits by Helix. Tell me about that. Like, albums are being released as the greatest hits. Tell me all about that.
Well, Capitol EMI was bought out by Universal a couple years ago, and I imagine Universal is going through all the acts that they accumulated in that merger, and they're releasing the Icon series. So there'll probably be one, they're like limited runs of vinyl, about 500 units, I think. And probably be Luba and the Partland Brothers and anybody that was on the Capitol label that sold substantial amounts of units.
Tell me about this includes the Gene Simmons song, right?
Yes.
I mean, did you guys get any flack for that? Like, the guy trademark, calls you up, guys, you can't use this and take me out, and why is Ace Frehley in this too? What the heck's going on here?
Well, we had a lot of fun with that song, but that came from an interview that Gene gave with I don't know who. But essentially, I know what he was saying. He was saying that, as a business model, rock and roll is pretty screwed up right now. It's very hard to make a living. There's no place for bands to develop a craft because it's a craft. It's not, you don't come flying out of the womb playing guitar and singing, unfortunately. You have to learn how to do it, and it takes time. It's the amount of hours that you put in your instruments. So when Gene Simmons made that comment, I know exactly what he meant. But what I meant in the song was that you'll never stop kids from wanting to play guitar and wanting to impress girls and write songs and all the things that musicians do.
And what about, I always wondered, what's the difference between your solo albums versus Helix? I mean, what would you say? Is it just you're pushing the limits on the solo stuff, or is there a certain formula for Helix?
Well, on the first solo album I did back with the guys from 70 Rich, which was my weekend band, it was almost done as a joke. That's what it started off as. And some of the songs started turning out really good. Fugly, I was on that album. I'm Alive Frankenstein. There's a few other ones like King of the Hill that could have actually been Helix songs. I think they've been on Helix albums. But with the last Vollmer album, which was 15 years after the other one, it's more of a rhythm and blues. I came out of a lot of blues singers: Steve Marriott, John K. Steffenwolf, even David Bowie really was a blues-based singer, and Joe Cocker was another influence. The Beatles, Rolling Stones. So on that album, I thought I'd revisit my roots, and it's a little bit to the right of where Helix would go, I think. But I'm pretty happy with the album, and I don't know what more to say about that.
What about the next Helix album? I mean, Is there going to be a new one? Are you writing material? Are you always writing material? When do you think that'll come out? Or tell me about that.
We're planning on getting that together, writing this fall, probably be out next year. I've already written one song with Sean Kelly. That's a real rocker, and it comes out of a 7-minute rap I wrote really down in Florida called the Helix Story. And I did it at the acoustic show, and basically it starts out once upon a time back in 1974. 5 long-haired guys got together. And it just tells the story of Helix, and we're recording it. Actually, Daryl's doing it at his studios called the Doghouse in St. Catharines, and I went down to his studio and we put down just the rap, and now he's putting all the sound effects and stuff, and that rap rolls into the song that I wrote with Sean Kelly. The rest of the songs I hope to write with the guys in the band. All the guys in the band want to write. They're chomping at the bit to write. I didn't do it with the band in the past because up until Caleb and Chris joined, I had a revolving door of members through the 90s, so I wasn't going to get someone involved in writing and then have the guy take a walk or try to use it as blackmail in 6 months. So I didn't. I wrote with Sean. He was my writing partner for a lot of years, and I just stuck with him. But now this lineup has proved to me that they're faithful, and you know, they do a good job. They don't complain. They're just the most loyal bunch, and I really couldn't ask anything more from them. And I think they deserve to write. So I'm kind of turning things over to them. I'm keeping an eye, overseeing it, but I'm hoping that they're going to write the balance of the next Helix album.
Very cool. And my last question is your favorite Lemmy moment. I know we were talking about Lemmy off camera. We'll go on forever, right? But quickly, just your favorite Lemmy moment.
Well, I have many Lemmy moments, but I remember the first time I ever met Lemmy, I was sitting at the bar at the Penny Arcade in Rochester, New York, and I'd never met Lemmy, and he got his food and he was eating beside me, and me beside him, and all of a sudden he turns to me and goes, "You believe in God?" I go, "Whoa, what a way to start a conversation," right? I go, "Yeah, I do actually." He goes, "Oh, I don't believe in God. My father was a minister and he fucked me over and he wouldn't give me money." And then he went and told me he started talking about doing acid, window pane acid with Jimi Hendrix when he roadied for Jimi Hendrix, and playing with Hawkwind. And his funniest moment on stage was when the guitar player came on stage dressed in a frog suit and jumped off the front into a lake in front of the stage. But I had many Lemmy moments. He was a great guy, and unlike a lot of people you meet in the business, he was totally unique. What you saw was what you got, and I think that's why people love the guy so much.
Brian Vollmer, the one, the only Helix. Catch them on tour, pick up their Icon series, the greatest hits, pick up the albums, and maybe get a singing lesson, right?
Maybe get a singing.
He does it by Skype. Do you do it via Skype, or do you?
No, not yet.
We're trying to set that up,
I'm actually
right?
trying to put it together a website on Bell Canada, because, like I said, I think I'm one of the last people in the world to teach it. It's the only way to sing without tension on the vocal cords.
So Brian Johnson, take note.
Well, that's funny. You know, a lot of singers are wrecking their voices, right? I love Brian Johnson, but, you know, it really tears up your voice when you sing him properly.
Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.